Maybe.
What's that?
Sergeant Lieutenant Lank, I don't know what he is.
Mhm.
You know, time has passed and promotions. So we're just going to go with Sergeant Lieutenant
Lank.
Lank.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
He's a lieutenant now, but he was a sergeant at the time.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're going to go through his video and we, typical Bryon and Gonzo fashion, we do everything bass ass backwards.
Yes.
Right?
You could say that. Yeah.
We should have done this guy second. Start off and what's his name?
Mulaney.
First, right?
Right.
When I was going through this video, holy macaroni. I'm going to throw you under the bus a little bit later on. Okay? Curveball.
Can't wait for that.
All right. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's roll it, Steve.
Jackson?
Thank you, Your Honor. May we approach briefly?
Yeah. Feel the red eye?
I love it. Do this.
All right, jurors, so you're about to hear evidence of an event that happened in 2002. This evidence can be considered by you insofar as it demonstrates or relates to the credibility of this witness and the thoroughness of the investigation into this case for which the defendant is currently on trial before you folks. You may use this evidence to the extent that you find it credible in deciding whether there was any bias or favoritism on the part of the police in their investigation in this case.
May I?
Mr. Jackson, yes.
Lieutenant Lank, I want to start by asking you about your relationship with certain members of the Albert family. Do you know any other members of the Albert family other than Bryon Albert?
Yes.
Can you describe who those are?
Kevin Albert, who is a detective on our department, Chris Albert, and I know Tim Albert.
Are those three individuals brothers?
Yes.
Who is the eldest brother?
Brian.
How long have you known, I want to start first with Tim Albert. How long have you known Tim Albert?
I knew Tim Albert when he was a kid because he was friends with a younger brother of a friend of mine.
Starting at what age?
12.
So you've known
He was 12. I was probably 16 or so.
Okay, so the better part of your life, you've known Tim Albert.
Since about 16, I would say.
And what about Chris Albert?
Chris Albert I've known since junior high.
Which would be about what age?
13, 14.
You grew up with
12,
Chris?
12, 13. I was friendly with Chris from junior high through high school and into our 20s.
And friendly with Tim?
I wouldn't say I was friendly to say hello to Tim. I didn't associate with him. He was younger. He was Chris's younger brother.
But you also knew Chris's older brother, Bryon.
Yes.
Back in those days.
I knew who he was.
So you've known the three of them for basically your entire life?
No, I had met them. I had met Bryon. I didn't know him other than just being Chris's older brother when we were younger kids.
Certainly with regard to Chris, you would consider him a close friend.
Consider who a close friend?
Chris. I'm
Yes.
using first names only because they're all named
Sure,
Albert.
sure. Chris and I were pretty good friends when we were younger, yes.
I want to draw your attention to an incident in August of 2002. Do you remember an incident in 2002 occurring with, that involved Chris Albert?
Yes.
In 2002, in August of 2002 specifically, you were off duty, correct?
Yes.
You had been drinking alcohol, correct?
Yes.
You were approached by Chris Albert out in a parking lot, is that right?
That's correct.
And Chris Albert told you some information about being in a fight. That he had been in a fight or an altercation of some sort, correct?
He told me he had been in an altercation earlier in the night and some threats had been made to him and his family.
And you got out of your car and discussed this with Mr. Albert, correct?
No.
You just talked to him while you were seated in your car?
Yes.
Okay, at some point, did some other individuals approach that same area?
Yes.
Was there a fight that you believed was about to ensue?
Yes.
Did you get out of your car at that point?
I did.
Did you come to Chris's aid by, quote unquote, activating yourself as an officer?
I got out of my car and I approached the group and I pleaded with them to not fight tonight. I said, there's not going to be a fight tonight. There's 6 of you guys. He's here with his girlfriend. There's not going to be a fight tonight.
Did you come to Chris Albert's aid as best you could as a longtime friend of his?
I came to the aid of a citizen who was in fear and of need.
That citizen happened to be Chris Albert, whom you had known since you were 12 years old.
Correct.
Ultimately, a fight did break out, did it not?
Yes.
And you engaged in that fight.
Yes.
And again, you had been drinking alcohol at that point, correct?
Correct.
And you were off duty in August of 2002 during this fight.
Yes.
Just like you were off duty in 2022 when you were called by Sergeant Good to activate and come to the crime scene at 34 Fairview.
When Sergeant Good contacted me, I was not working. I was due to work at 7:45 that morning. When Sergeant Good contacted me and told
Steve, can
me
you pause it?
what was going
Okay. Took us a few minutes to get.
Steve is not here.
Yeah.
Let's preface with that. Steve is not here. Steve is home. He is really busy today, so we're doing this remotely. Hence why
It's
he's
a
on his
train wreck.
camera. I'm on my camera, our phone. So it's gonna be messy.
Yeah. So what I was trying to say back there is that anytime that you were involved in a bar fight, right?
Right.
Or scraps or arguments, right?
Right, yeah.
Did you ever disclose that you were a police officer? Hey, I'm a fucking cop. Don't.
Hell no. Hell no. That's the fastest way you get fired here in Metro.
Yeah.
Is to say, I'm a cop off duty, or you better not mess with me, because then everyone's like, oh, well, you're a cop. As soon as you say you're a cop off duty, you are now on duty.
Yep.
Period. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. As soon as you say I'm a cop, you are now have to act and perform the guidelines of a police officer, not a normal citizen.
Yep.
So you keep your mouth shut. You don't say nothing.
I'm willing to bet that this guy said, I'm a cop from Boston. Don't fuck around and get
Probably.
yourself hemmed up, right?
Probably a lot of cops feel when they say I'm a cop, everyone's going to back off and be ooh and be scared. When you got to remember the world's changing. A lot of people nowadays
Don't give a
they
shit.
don't give a shit,
Yeah.
which is why you don't say it.
You don't
Because
challenge you even more.
what if I need to act accordingly? And once I say I'm a cop, I can't do those things. So keep your mouth shut. Don't say nothing.
And the
handle
thing
business.
is, you're drinking, you're possibly armed, and let's say it goes into a deadly force situation.
You're
right?
screwed.
You're screwed.
You are screwed. Not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Not worth it at all.
All right. Roll it, Steve-O.
going on, then I activated myself and came to work because I was the detective sergeant.
And that's
It's
similar
accepted.
sort of activation, using that word in air quotes, a similar sort of activation that you employed back in 2002 to assist Chris Albert.
No.
You did, in fact, call for someone to call the police and get some Canton officers over there, correct?
Excuse me. So in 2002?
In 2002.
Yes.
Okay. And I failed to
Long time
ask
ago.
you this, but in 2002, you were, in fact, a Canton police officer
Yes.
at the time. After the other officers arrived, did you order the other officers to handcuff or somehow restrain one of the 2 brothers that were involved in this fight with Chris?
No.
Ultimately, did you see whether or not those officers handcuffed or otherwise restrained one of the brothers that was involved in this fight?
Yes.
And did you then engage physically in a fight with the other brother who was not restrained?
No. There had already been, the struggle had already occurred.
All right. So let me make sure I get the timing right. You did, in fact, engage in a physical fight with one of the brothers, correct?
Upon being struck, yes.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Upon being struck, yes.
First.
And then you struck him back.
Yes.
You ended up on the ground.
Yes, we were wrestling, yes.
And ultimately, the other officers had to pull you off that man, correct?
No.
You ultimately, the fight was broken up between you and the other brother. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. And that fight was broken up by the officers who were on scene.
Yes.
All right. After this physical altercation with the brother who was not ultimately restrained, both of the brothers and everybody else was just told by the officers, just go away. Get out of here, go home, correct?
No, I believe one of the brothers left the scene, fled the scene, and the brother that was restrained was ultimately uncuffed and left free to go.
And nobody was arrested that night.
Correct.
Nobody chased down the brother that left the scene, correct?
That's correct.
And nobody arrested the brother that had been handcuffed.
Correct.
And no police reports were written by you or any of the other officers about this incident on that night.
I don't recall when the other officers wrote theirs. I did not write mine on that night.
The next day, you became aware that one or both of the brothers had arrived at Canton Police Department to file a formal complaint for having been physically attacked by you and some of the other officers involved, correct?
I don't recall when I was made aware that they had come down to the police station.
You are aware that there was a complaint sought against you for the physical attack that was alleged to have occurred, correct?
It was brought to my attention that they had come down to the police station.
And you also are aware that only after that complaint had been sought, the police reports were then dated and filed against the two brothers, correct?
So I had spoken to the sergeant on duty the night of the
Yes or
incident.
no question. I'm just looking at the time.
It's not a yes or no question.
So he was just asking you about dates.
Yeah.
So can you answer the question? Ask the question
Could you
about the
repeat?
dates again, please.
I'm seeking the chronology of events. The fight occurs, a complaint against you occurs, and then police reports are filed against the two people that are complaining against you. Is that the chronology?
Yes.
If we look at how the crime was committed, that leads us to why the crime was committed, and that leads us to who committed the crime.
Hey, pause it, Steve. So, get out of here. We're not going to file charges,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Nothing gets filed. It's P-Paul, right?
Yeah. People.
So the next day,
Person refused to sign complaint. People.
this
We're done.
tells me that he did activate. Said, "I'm a fucking Boston cop. You fuck with me, you're gonna get got." Right?
Yeah,
You go away. We won't press charges. I think go away. The next day, those two brothers come up and say, "Hey, these guys attacked us." Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now they're scrambling, saying, "Oh shit, we better do a report to cover their asses." Right? That's why you do not announce who you are. You scrap, you go away, and nothing gets done.
Yeah.
Right?
I think off duty, I've never said I was a cop.
Me neither.
Off duty in 22 years. Never once.
Me neither.
And I got into I stepped in a couple things that were not going well. And I'm like, man, ease up, and they all listened, thank God. But I never said I was a cop.
Yeah.
And I never would.
You can't, because then you're held to higher standard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're looking for a payday.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, Steve.
Yeah, keep that shit to yourself.
And you're also aware that although he had been in a physical fight that night, no charges were ever brought against Chris Albert, correct?
Just a misdemeanor. Battery anyway.
Do you know that?
I don't know. I don't even know where the fight occurred.
You would remember.
Officer Lank,
You would remember.
what
Absolutely.
we just talked about, is that an example of you using your position as a police officer to come to the aid of one of the members of the Albert family?
Yes.
It was me coming to the aid of a citizen who was terrified and scared for him and his family on that night.
Who happened to be
Who happened?
named what?
Excuse me, who happened to be Chris Albert.
So you came to aid of Chris Albert.
You mentioned Kevin Albert. Who's he?
Kevin Albert is a detective with the Canton Police.
Is he a coworker?
Yes.
How long have you known him?
Long time.
Probably since 14, 15 years old.
And you also consider him to be a friend as well as a coworker
I do,
and a colleague.
yes.
And you're also well aware, I mean, you've said it already, he's the little brother of Bryon Albert.
Correct.
And you're also aware that the reason that your department was ultimately recused from this investigation, Lieutenant Lank, is because of perceived bias or conflict of interest between the Albert family and the Canton Police Department. Correct?
Yes, there was a perceived bias.
Can you tell me one more time, now I want to fast forward to the incident in question. If you know.
I believe it was around 6:24, 6:25.
Okay. And you indicated that that was in response to a call to. What made you decide, or could you have decided to take this particular call? Was it up to you, in other words?
I would never not take that call.
Okay, fair enough. So once you got the call, you knew that you were
Good
going to
answer.
respond because there was something very serious afoot.
Yeah.
Correct.
Did you know at the
Good
time
answer.
you got the call that that very serious incident was occurring at 34 Fairview?
No.
When did you realize that?
Upon speaking with Sergeant Good.
Okay, so Sergeant Good didn't, I guess that's what maybe I asked an inartful question. I was asking whether or not Sergeant Good told you before you actually arrived, he sort of had to have, that it's at 34 Fairview.
He did.
Okay. At that point, did a light bulb go off and you think to yourself, ding, that's the Albert House?
I don't recall if I realized it then or once I turned onto the street. I don't recall.
At some point before your car came to a stop, you knew this is 34 Fairview, this is the Albert household.
I knew that was Bryon Albert's house, yes.
There it is.
You're damn right you knew that was
Yep.
Bryon Albert's house.
Yep.
When you
Known
arrived,
since
who
15?
was the
Yep.
ranking officer at the scene? You mentioned Sergeant Good, Officer Mullaney, Officer Seraph, you. Who was the ranking officer?
When I arrived, Sergeant Good was the ranking officer.
Have you reviewed either, well, let me ask a different question. Did you have a dash cam in the vehicle that you arrived in?
I did not.
And that's because it was that a detective vehicle?
Yes.
Sometimes used undercover, et cetera?
Yes.
So it's not a fully marked cruiser.
No, not at all.
The other cruisers you're aware did have dash cams, correct?
Yes.
Have you reviewed any or all of those dash cams from Officer Mullaney, Officer Seraph, Sergeant Good?
Yes.
And you reviewed those in preparation for your testimony?
Yes.
I'd like to show you what's been previously marked as Exhibit 16. And I'm going to ask Mr. Bates if you could fast forward that to about the runtime of the, 28:35 or so, with the court's permission.
Yes.
I'll allow it.
Before we play this, it appears to be a still image of,
So let's not describe it.
sure. What do you see on the screen?
Bev.
I see two still images.
Okay. Do you recognize either or both of those images?
Yes.
How do you recognize them?
It looks like the scene from that morning. From, I believe it's going to be the top one anyways, that 683 Officer Seraph's cruiser.
And the bottom one?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Looks like possibly Sergeant Good's based on where it's placed.
Okay.
Just read that.
If we could fast
Yeah.
forward
Officer Good. That's a clue. He must be a lieutenant.
to the 28:40
After break.
mark or so. Mr. Bates, and play that. And let's pause it for a second. Your Honor, may we approach briefly?
Okay?
You indicated that you have reviewed these videos in anticipation of your testimony today, correct?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to direct your attention to the top video, and specifically to an area right around this area in the video, which is highlighted. Before we play, a couple of foundational questions. Did you meet with Jennifer McCabe out behind the vehicle that's depicted in the Officer Seraph dash cam?
Yes,
Did you have some sort of a conversation with her?
I did.
At some point, did you see Ms. McCabe leave your presence and walk toward the driveway?
Once the conversation had terminated, I honestly don't recall where she went.
Did she tell you that she intended to go inside the house?
I had said to her that at some point we're going to need to speak to Bryon and Nicole
Why did you think it was important to speak to Bryon and Nicole?
because it's their property.
And somebody was laying in the snow
Go
unconscious.
lift the fuck at the
unresponsive,
big
correct?
boy.
Correct.
And obviously, that could potentially, at least, implicate people inside the house.
Based on my conversation with Ms. McCabe, she had stated that the intention was for Mr. McCabe, for Mr. O'Keefe to join them at that house. So I wanted to get statements from everybody who was there.
Find out what
He
happened.
sounds like a cop.
Correct.
I mean, that's sort of the obvious initial point of an investigation.
Yeah.
Find out who the witnesses are and interview all of them, correct?
Correct.
And you began by talking to Ms. McCabe,
Yes.
knowing that she was a potential witness at least, correct?
She identified herself as a friend of Mr. O'Keefe.
Who had been with Mr. O'Keefe just hours before.
Yes.
He ended up laying in the snow fighting for his life, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you also knew that there were other witnesses potentially inside the house because she just told you that, right?
I knew that that was ultimately where he was supposed to end up.
So if
Father
there were
Steve.
other witnesses in the house,
Wow. Fresh of breath. What was it?
Fresher breath air.
That's the one.
Breath of fresh air. Fresher breath air. What the fuck did I just say? Breath of fresh air. It's perfect for us.
We're
not used to this morning.
Listen, we're not used to having somebody doing the right thing.
I know.
They just screwed us all up.
He actually sounds like a real cop. He's actually looks like he wants to do the right thing. It's unbelievable.
Well, that will change.
Oh, of course. Of course.
So listen, he's asking the right questions, right?
He's
He's
doing that.
answering correctly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's exactly what you should be doing. Okay, where is he going to? Where has he been? Right? Right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
What's that? What's that called?
Investigating.
What's he building? Reasonable suspicion?
Yeah, reasonable,
Reasonable
reasonable suspicion leading up to problem.
So when they
cause.
say we don't have
Do it
probable
right.
cause, bullshit. That's right there.
Is that what he's gonna say?
Well, no, but that's what I'm getting to right now. That's building my reasonable suspicion that I need to go in that house,
100%.
talk to everybody,
100%.
look inside the house,
100%. Yep.
right?
And I know they go into the foyer, right? Or am I jumping ahead?
Did you watch this video?
I saw pieces of it, but I don't. That's all I remember.
Yes.
Is them saying they went to the foyer.
Okay, we'll let it play.
Okay.
We'll let it play. But
I
so far,
remember-
so good. So far, so good.
I know what we would have done if we would have came into that house, the foyer.
So far, so good. All right, Steve-O.
sorry, if there were other individuals in the house, they also were potential witnesses.
Potentially.
And Ms. McCabe indicated, I'm going to go in the house, correct?
I had told her that she's going to have to wake her sister up because we're going to need to speak with them.
You didn't think that it was more important to separate the witnesses and not let her talk to other witnesses?
Yes. Yes. Or yes.
No.
You thought that it was appropriate to let all the witnesses get together and just discuss the facts before you have an opportunity to interview them separately?
Objection.
It is to the form.
He went downhill fast, didn't he?
All I had to do is say yes, sir. That's what I had to do. We led you. Come on, man. We can only guide you so much.
Lieutenant Lank, if you could direct your attention to the area that I highlighted earlier. Let's go ahead and play the video. Stop.
Always sirens.
Yeah.
Always sirens.
Did you see anything occur at or around the car in the distance?
It appears to be somebody walking towards the house.
Was that Jen McCabe?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't say for sure.
Do you see yourself, by the way, in this video?
Yes.
Where are you?
Which one of teeth?
Right here.
The guy with the lighter
you've
jacket.
described for the, I don't know if it's tan or gray.
It's a gray North Face jacket with it's black on the top.
Okay, toward the shoulders.
Yes.
All right.
It's not a police jacket.
Let's go ahead and play the video, and I'll indicate another stopping place that I'd like to ask you a couple of questions about.
Allergies, man. You know, I didn't have allergies back east. Didn't sneeze once. No runny nose.
Apologize.
I'm back here and
No, go. No, sorry. I'm standing in front of someone.
what's he doing?
He's
Talking.
talking to the boys.
Okay. Should be telling him what to do.
Shouldn't they be like looking for evidence?
They should be doing a lot of things other than just standing there in a friggin' circle talking.
Did you see another person shorter in stature approach you?
I believe right there. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Who is that?
I believe it's Kerry Roberts.
Okay. Let's go ahead and play it. How's it?
Here.
Did you see yourself just exit screen right?
Yes.
It appeared that you had something in your hand.
Yes.
You were taking a call
Yes.
on your cell phone.
Yes.
What was that call?
Ben was.
I don't recall. It could have, I can't see what time that is.
You don't remember who you were
I
talking
don't
to, the
believe
first
that I made the
person?
call to the CPAC unit until around 6:38, so I'm not sure who that call was from.
If you'll direct your attention, I think now down toward the camera below,
He knows.
Yes.
you may see yourself enter the frame. Can we go ahead and play it?
They're right there walking. Right here.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay. I was on the phone. Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead and pause it. Does it appear you're on the phone?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
And he don't remember.
Yeah. That's probably one of the most important phone calls he's received in the last
Dude, you got a dead officer
30
there,
years.
and you don't remember? Please.
There's only one reason why you walk away when you're on the phone, right?
Yeah.
Pause it, Steve.
Yeah, don't
Appear that you
insult
walked
our
off screen
intelligence.
left.
Don't insult our intelligence. You don't remember.
He knows who called him.
I know. I get all three of my shootings. Guess who the first person I called was when I was done?
Yeah.
First person I called on all three, my wife. Right? I remember like it was yesterday. You always remember who you talked to at right during or right after a critical incident.
Yeah. And this is a critical incident, right? Big time. You know who you called. You know exactly what you did. You know who you talked to.
Yeah, he was either talking to his boss, Brian Albert, or Proctor.
Yeah.
Right. One of those three people, I think, was on the phone with him. And then he goes over. Well, I think I'll let it play, guy, because I don't want to misspeak.
Okay.
I don't want to misspeak, but
All right.
he knows who we talked to.
Yeah, absolutely. And somebody probably in the house.
It could have been. It could have been. And that's why he doesn't want to say. That's why he's like, I don't remember. You remember exactly who you talked to, and you remember what you said. You just don't want to say.
Yes.
Yep.
And I get it. I get it.
Pause it. Did you see somebody following that same direction?
It looked like Officer Sarif.
Go ahead and play it.
Actually, I'm wrong because that's Officer Sarif right there, so I'm incorrect.
You think it
As I
might
said,
be
it's a big boy.
Could we play it back?
with the court's permission?
Sure, go ahead.
It's almost like he's circling the drain a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he don't know what to do. Kind of walking back and forth
Yep.
on the phone. like-
Yes, I'm mistaken. That's Sergeant Good.
Okay, go ahead.
He might be having some ethical conflicts, you know? He might be,
He could be.
right?
People could be telling him what to do, and he's like, I don't want to do that. But now he's got to decide, do I want in or out?
Yeah.
Once you decide,
Married to it.
you're married, you're committed 100%. Big, tough choice. I would always say, do the right thing.
Yep.
Be honest. Keep your integrity. Always look good in the eyes of the law.
What would Jesus
No
do?
matter, yeah, what would Jesus do?
You've
No matter
walked
what
back
they
into
do to
the
you,
frame.
Yes,
Are
You know
followed
you're
by
innocent.
anybody?
I believe it's still Sergeant Good.
Are you speaking to Sergeant Good or are you walking away from him? Or can't you tell?
In that frame, it appears I'm standing right next to him.
Okay, let's go ahead and play.
yeah, you are.
Pause it. Did it appear you were sort of walking away from Sergeant Good off frame again?
Yes, it appears that I'm pacing.
Were you still
Yeah,
on
you
the
are.
phone?
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Which is okay.
Very pleasant. They haven't dealt with the homicide in the snow, I guess.
I paced like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
I can barely sit still now.
What I don't understand is they're just standing there instead of trying to. I get it. They don't want to mess the crime scene up. You can send one guy in there and say, kind of
Do you see the
poke around a little
SUV
bit,
in
right?
the video?
Yes.
Does that SUV appear to be leaving the scene?
Yes.
Do you know who was in that video? In that SUV?
I believe it's going to be Kerry Roberts and Karen Reed.
Okay, go ahead and play it. Pause it. At that point, are you walking back into the frame on the lower video?
Yes.
You are.
At this point, Lieutenant, are the lights on at 34 Fairview on or off?
You're right here.
They still appear to be off.
And at some point while you were at the scene, did the lights come on? I think you testified to that earlier.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like you to pay special attention to that moment and maybe tell me to stop when you see those lights come on. It may be a minute or so.
Sure.
Yeah. Gonzo and I would be up in that yard. I'd be walking around the whole yard. Walking around the
At
back.
this point, does it appear
'Cause
that
you-
you're still on the phone?
It's a crime scene. It's a crime scene.
It's a crime scene, and you want to see where your evidence might lead you. So you need to attack that whole front
Hey,
yard
Brian,
and side yard and
No,
backyard.
Chief was right there where he was.
Yeah.
Right there.
So you need to scour that area for evidence.
Between that flagpole and the fire hydrant.
I mean, we know it's snowing, so footprints are going to go very quickly. So you need to get up there and look and start taking pictures as best you can, or get a tent up, right, to block that area, 20 by 20, 30 by 30 tent. Lock it down.
Yeah, exactly. Not much investigating going on.
But they weren't thinking that.
Mm-mm.
What are we looking for?
Lights.
Oh, lights.
Yeah. They're kind of like waiting to be told what to do, it seems like to me. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't look right.
It doesn't look, because it's not right. That's why it doesn't look right. It's not right. Yeah, it's almost like this is their first dead body call,
Yeah.
and they have no idea what to do,
Yep.
and that's a shame.
Yep. Lights on. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, so that's inside the house.
At this point, is there anything that changed in the scene?
Yes.
What's that?
It appears that there's now a light on inside the home.
And at this point, Ms. McCabe has been inside the house for approximately how long, if you could estimate?
Maybe 3 minutes.
So they're up.
And are you still
3
on the
minutes
phone?
planning.
Or have you ended that call?
I can't tell if I'm still on the phone at that point. I know that right around this time is when I end up speaking to the CPAC unit, because I believe I
remember
get
that.
into the vehicle.
Let's play just a little bit further forward, maybe another 30 seconds or so.
Notice how he remembers exactly when he talked to CPAC, PAC, whatever,
But he can't remember.
but he can't remember who the first person he talked to. That is 100% lie. What do they do? They're going to get a car and leave?
Get in the cruiser.
Does it appear at this point that you can see?
that a
Does it
cop
appear
car?
that you've ended that call, or at least your hands are down by your side?
I can't tell.
Okay. You would agree with me, that's all for that. You would agree with me that that was without counting the seconds, that was about a 5-minute phone call, or maybe a little better than 5 minutes.
I wasn't watching, to be honest.
Do you have any idea who you were talking to now that you've seen that?
I could make an educated guess, but I don't know for sure.
I'd say, well, what is that?
You did
What
notice
is your
that-
guess?
Several minutes after Jen McCabe went in the house, and while you were on that phone call, the lights finally came on at 34 Fairview, correct?
Correct.
At the point the lights came on, the ladder truck had already gone, left from the scene, correct? The fire engine.
I believe so.
The firefighters are all gone.
Yes.
The ambulance has already left. and
Did you see him or
transported
not?
to O'Keefe.
Yes.
The paramedics are gone, the EMTs.
Yes.
Fire captain and his SUV, that's gone.
There was quick.
Is that right?
There was quick.
I'm sorry, was there a question?
The fire captain and his SUV,
Yeah, bro.
that's gone.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
In other words, all the fire and EMTs have.
I don't see them on camera.
What the fuck were you looking at when you were standing there?
EMTs are still on scene, correct?
Doesn't
Yeah, I told
appear
you guys
so.
to go downhill.
The
Terry
fuck?
Roberts is gone.
Yes.
Karen Reed is gone.
Yes.
So when the only parties left at the scene are members of the Albert family, Jen McCabe, and the Canton Police Department representatives, that's when the lights inside 34 Fairview finally came on.
Okay.
Is that yes?
Oh my
Yes.
God.
He said, okay.
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 If you say
Minutes
so.
after that call, you did then speak to CPAC, I'm sorry, to dispatch, correct?
CPAC dispatch.
Right, I was getting to that. It was a dispatch, and the dispatch was to CPAC, not to
Yeah.
Canton PD.
Correct.
And at some point, did CPAC dispatch indicate that they were on their way, they had declined the call? What was that call all about?
So there are two separate calls.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
What?
Who
Answer
did
the
you
question.
talk to at CPAC?
Yeah.
I don't recall who handled the first call at dispatch.
Okay, do you
Okay, I
remember
get that.
having a conversation with Kelly Dever?
No.
Maybe.
Okay.
Must know her.
I think we're talking about two different things. I'm talking about CPAC dispatch, not Canton Police dispatch.
Okay, fair enough. At some point, did you have a conversation with, well, let me ask it this way.
Lollipop.
I
Yeah.
just don't know. Did you talk to both Canton Dispatch and CPAC Dispatch?
I definitely spoke to CPAC dispatch.
We get that. You keep saying it. You're very
I'm
proud
not
of
sure
that.
if I spoke to Canton dispatch or not.
All right.
How would you not know that, sir?
At some point, did you say, did you indicate to one or the other, I'm responding to 34 Fairview, we have a Boston police officer who was just found?
Yeah.
I stated that I was already at 34 Fairview.
You indicated
I
that he
believe.
does have some trauma to his head area, correct?
That's correct.
And you said, quote, I'm not sure if he's been in a fight or whatever. Our medics don't believe he's going to make it,
Correct.
end quote.
First instinct, right?
Sergeant Lank, you never saw John O'Keefe's body, correct?
Correct.
So somebody disclosed to you that it appeared that he had been in a, quote, fight or whatever, at least at that point. That was your thought.
No.
And what made you say, well, you didn't say to dispatch, the victim appears to have been
Lane.
shot, correct?
Correct.
You didn't say it appeared he'd been stabbed,
No.
he had been strangled.
No.
You didn't say it appeared he'd been hit by a car.
Correct.
You said it appeared that he'd been in a fight or whatever, correct?
I stated that he had some trauma to his head, and I said, I don't know if he has been in a fight, and then I believe I described it as I don't remember my exact terminology, but it was a crazy scene,
Chaotic scene?
possibly. I don't recall my exact words, something to that effect.
But you do recall your exact words to dispatch being, I don't know if he's been in a fight or whatever.
Correct.
Okay.
What we've got here is failure to communicate. Some men you just can't reach.
I want to talk about inside the house for just a few minutes, if I could. You've talked extensively about the crime scene outside, and we'll get to that in a second, but I want to talk about what did or did not happen inside the house. Did you actually make it inside the house at some point?
Yes.
Okay. When was that? How long? Let's use Jennifer McCabe as the time frame. How long after that did you finally go inside the house, after she'd been in the house?
So it was specifically just after I got off the phone with CPAC.
So just a few minutes after we ended that video.
Yes.
And you walked you said either along the driveway or through the yard.
I believe it was up the driveway.
Okay. Once you went in the house, you made contact with the individuals in the house, correct?
Yes.
And you believed, at least at that point, that there was a potential that there was let me rephrase that. You knew that you were dealing with a violent incident, correct?
Yep.
No.
Yep.
You thought maybe it was just a heart attack?
I didn't know what it was. At that point in time, I didn't know what it was. Could have been a multitude of things.
What was going through your mind at that point was it could have been a fight or whatever, because he had trauma to his head. Those were your words.
Those were my words, yes.
Okay. So you didn't think it was like some old man who died of old age? Right?
Based on his age, no, I wouldn't have suspected that.
Oh my
Maybe it
God.
was an accidental drowning or something.
Again, it could have been a multitude of things that caused those injuries. So at that point in time, we had no idea what we were looking at.
But you were aware that it had something to do with a violent incident. He had trauma to his face and he's unconscious.
Yeah.
Jackson,
Sustained.
my God.
He didn't just fall over dead. And then
Did you
all of a sudden
believe that
the
there were any
trees and the grass
indicators
fucked
that
him up.
Mr. O'Keefe had been involved in some sort of a physical altercation?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Okay. And that's because you used the phrase, he had trauma to his face and head, right?
Yeah.
That's what I had been told, yes.
So based on what you had been told, you knew that there was a person laying out unconscious just outside a residence that may have been involved in a physical altercation. That's fair.
It's a possibility, yes. But again, there were a multitude of things that were going through my head.
Dodging,
There's
man. He's
possibilities.
That's
dodging,
one
dude.
of the premier possibilities, right?
I wouldn't say it's premier. It was one of the possibilities.
And it's logical to believe that if a fight had occurred, very well may have started inside the residence 30 feet away.
Objection, Your Honor.
Those fights aren't going to take place
Did you
outside of the
believe,
cold and the snow.
in your mind, that it was possible, given the fact that a violent confrontation was possible in your mind, that it could have started inside the house?
Objection.
Sustained.
May we approach?
Yes.
Yeah, he's getting pissed because he's
Sure.
not getting.
Lieutenant Lank, given what you believed at the time and the possibility that there was a fight or whatever, did you logically think in your mind, your state of mind was it possibly could have started in the house?
If it had been of confrontation, it could have started anywhere.
Right? The house is part of anywhere, right?
Yeah.
So in other words, the house is not excluded in your mind at that point as a starting point for the investigation. Is that right?
Well, the starting point would have been where Mr. O'Keefe had been discovered, and then based on speaking with the witnesses, there was no indication that he had ever made it into the house.
Well, you
That's
didn't know
not true.
that
Just,
until you followed up on your investigation, correct?
I learned that by speaking to Ms. McCabe.
of course
You
she
just
did.
took Ms. McCabe's word for it.
At that point in time, that was the only person I had spoken to, and she gave me a timeline of events from that night where Mr. O'Keefe was supposed to come back to the house, but never made it.
Have you ever been, in your course of investigating cases, have you ever been lied to by a witness?
Objection, Your Honor.
Can you answer that? Have you ever been lied to by a witness?
Yes.
So how do they know whether a witness is actually lying? It all comes down to observing, listening, and making that judgment for yourself whether what they're saying actually makes sense.
So it's not necessarily the best investigative technique to just take a witness's word for something, correct?
Objection.
That's sustained.
You need to act circumstances for yourself and to your own satisfaction. Is that a fair statement?
Sure.
Yes.
One of those investigative techniques would be to walk into the house and figure out who's who there, correct?
Can you rephrase the question?
Pause that!
Pause that!
Sure. One of those investigative techniques to satisfy yourself that you're actually getting to the truth of the matter would be to walk into the house and figure out who's in the house first.
I will agree that I needed to speak to the people in the home. I can't just walk in their house. I have to announce myself, and they don't have to let me in.
I understand. I'm not trying to parse those words. I just mean entering the home and interviewing witnesses. That would be a normal part of your investigation initially, correct?
Yes.
And you also knew that the most obvious place to look for witnesses that may have information about a fallen man in the snow would be 30 feet away in the home,
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
So once you're inside the residence, you walked in the front door, correct?
Yes.
You indicated that there's a stair that services the second floor. Is that right?
Straight ahead, yes.
Right. Just before the staircase, there's a door to your left, right?
He was in the house.
Yeah,
I
dude.
don't recall.
Fucking blew it.
Remember whether or not there's a door that when you open it, goes directly downstairs to the basement.
Basement. Where you needed to be.
I don't recall.
Of course you don't.
You indicated on direct examination that you didn't notice anything, I'm paraphrasing, so forgive me. You didn't notice anything out of place in the home.
No.
But you didn't go downstairs to the basement and look, did you?
No.
First one.
Didn't look for broken furniture down there.
I didn't enter the basement at all.
You didn't look
course
for
not.
torn clothing down there.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
This thing.
How about anywhere in the house? Did you look for broken furniture or torn clothing or blood evidence or DNA evidence?
Evidence of a
At
crime.
that point in time, I
Fire.
never made it past the front foyer area.
So the
There's a
answer to
reason
my
for that.
question is, no, you did not.
I never made it past the front foyer area.
Hey, pause that. Pause that, Steve.
So if I were to ask you one more time,
That's Brian Albert right there.
Jen McCabe looked good right there.
Yeah, her beard was pretty nice. Yeah, so he made it in
Yeah.
and he blew it.
Yeah.
He blew it. All they had to do was go in and say, hey, what's going on? You have a dead guy out front, right?
Mhm.
We need to speak. Everybody's going to get separated. And this is what we would do. Gonzo and I would be in that house, right? If he's talking to them at the foyer, I would say,
I got this.
I'm
Go
gonna
take a look.
I'm gonna walk,
Yep.
meaning I'm gonna go through that house. And whether they tell me you can't look, I'm not searching. Okay, there's a difference between looking for plain view, as in looking for a body or evidence of a crime scene, versus searching. I'm not going into drawers. I'm not going under cabinets. Right? No. We're not searching. I'm just looking. Anything in plain view. So this way, so when I'm walking around the house and they can say, "Hey, where are you going? You're going." I'm going to say, "I'm going to clear this house and make sure nobody else is in here hiding on us." And I'm looking. So now, if they throw a fit right then you know something happened in the house. As soon as they throw a fit and say you can't do that, everybody out and you do a premise freeze. Right? It's called a premise freeze. Everybody out of the house gets frozen while you get a warrant to come in and search it.
Talking to your sergeant. The sergeant says, yep,
Yep.
get it going.
Premise freeze. If you walk around the house and you see nothing, then you see nothing.
Yeah.
But that's what they needed to do.
Yeah.
You don't need probable cause to just walk through somebody's house and look for stuff in plain view, especially when you have a homicide.
Well, let's run through the steps here. You got a dead officer on an officer's property,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
That whole lot becomes a crime scene.
Yeah, the other whole
Right?
yeah.
House included, cars included, everything included,
Yeah,
right?
everything.
So you could go step by step and say, hey, listen, this is what we're gonna do. If you
Yeah.
work with us, we can force it by a search warrant.
Yep.
right? It's
Yep.
only going to make it look worse.
100%. Yep.
Right. So
Yep.
they definitely dropped the ball on that situation. And it's probably because of that 3-minute conversation that Jim McCabe had inside the house
Correct.
with the Boston Tea Party
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a shame that they made it in, but there's a reason they didn't go any further
Yeah.
than the foyer. And B. Albert was not going to allow that. And they're all buddies, they're all friends, right? So that's why he didn't go any farther. Any other cop would have gone right through that house, clear it, do a sweep. That's what we call it. Do a quick sweep, make sure no one's hiding.
Yep.
Or if there's make sure there's no dead bodies
no
laying.
victims.
Yeah, no other victims laying someplace. I mean, this could have been a big fight. I mean, and that's not the starting point. To me, that's Officer O'Keefe ended up there. Yes.
Yep.
So to me, that's the end. I need to find the starting
started.
place. I
Yep.
need to find where it all started, where everything happened, try to find out where the beating took place, whatever took place. I need to find that. That's your starting place. So here you're kind of working backwards. That's how I look at it. I found the end. Now I need to see where he was in the beginning.
He got tuned up inside the house, said, "Get the hell out of here." And he starts walking down the front steps and he finally collapses because he just lost too much blood.
Correct. He didn't get tuned up outside in the, most people are not going to fight in the snow.
Yeah.
You know,
Roll it.
roll it, Steve-O.
So if I were to ask you one more time, I know you never made it past the foyer. Did you ever investigate the foyer area or any other part of the house for evidence of a fight?
The only area I was able to observe at that point, everything appeared to be in order.
But you didn't search the rest of the house
Yeah.
for a fight, Lieutenant.
No.
That's
Nope.
all I'm asking.
The look.
No, I wouldn't have had probable cause to do so.
You don't need probable cause.
And did you seek
Let's talk about that.
guidance from a
He had it. He had
You
it.
have a dead guy in the front yard. Not that you need probable cause to just you're investigating an unalive person. You want to look through that house, and if you ask them, you want to see their response. Because if
Yep.
they say no, you're not looking around.
What does that
Now
tell you?
we got a problem.
Yep.
We got a big problem. So, all right, roll it, Steve.
court as to whether or not you might have probable cause.
Do you mean a search warrant?
That's what I mean.
I wouldn't fill out an affidavit for a search warrant because it wouldn't have probable cause.
In your mind, there was no PC to search that house, right?
Objection.
Let's move on from this.
Yeah, because you're an idiot.
One of the ways to secure a premises, any premises in a normal crime scene investigation, would be to remove the witnesses and animals from that premises to sort of freeze it and lock it down, correct?
That's
If
what
there's
I
reason to
said.
do so, yes.
Okay.
A premise freeze.
Witnesses, in this case, asked to
Thank
be
you, Alan.
outside the house in order to freeze the house down as a potential crime scene.
No.
Were any animals removed in order to freeze and lock down the house as a potential crime scene?
I didn't observe any animals.
That's Chloe.
Did you, and this is the last question on this issue, did you do anything to lock down and secure that premises, the inside of the house, in any way, shape, form, or fashion?
No.
Can you rephrase that, please?
Sure. Did
What
you do
the
anything
fuck?
to lock down and secure that premises in any way, shape, form, or fashion?
No.
Did you allow witnesses to go inside the house other than Jim McCabe?
Yes.
Yes.
Who's that?
I believe Matt McCabe entered the house after I had come out.
Yeah, we had a patty.
Seek
We
to
had a patty in the
separate
house.
any of the witnesses
Boston
or,
Tea Party.
admonish them that they are not to be in each other's presence and discuss the facts of the case before you had an opportunity to interview them.
No.
And as
Do you
see,
know you're a
you have
cop?
no idea, when you were not in their presence, you have no idea what the occupants of that house were discussing.
Correct.
You're right. It's a bad plan. What's your plan?
Or what they were doing.
I have no idea what they were doing.
Because you didn't ask him.
Didn't have a plan.
You didn't have a plan, dude.
Just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
You're kicking ass, sir. You're kicking ass.
Given the fact that you were the first law enforcement officer inside the house, did you seek to photograph anything inside the house?
When you say I was the first law enforcement officer, I was with Sergeant Good. Both of us walked in at the same time.
That's fair. I don't mean to be vague, but you were sort of leading the discussion, correct? With the interviews.
Yes,
At least according to Sergeant Good, you were taking charge.
sure.
As the first law enforcement officer to take charge inside the house, did you seek to photograph that?
No,
Of that location?
no, I did not.
Did you make any drawings or diagrams of the layout of the house?
No, I did not.
Did you know where the furniture was or was not?
No.
I don't know what you mean.
Did you note in a diagram where the
Sir.
furniture was? There's a dining room table here, it's got 6 chairs, there's a kitchen table over there.
No, I did not.
Did you note in any document where the individuals were, the human beings were in relation to each other when you walked in the house?
No.
Are you asking me where
Yeah,
I were,
you can tell
or
me
did I
what
make a
those
diagram?
Whether or not you documented that.
No.
Of course.
Had you been told at the time that you went in the house that John O'Keefe was found out in the yard that there was a shoe missing? His right shoe was missing?
No,
You didn't have that information yet?
I did not.
Did you subsequently learn that?
I learned that much later after we had already cleared the area.
Tell me what much later means. Days, hours, weeks?
I honestly couldn't give an exact
Give a crap.
answer on that.
Wouldn't give a crap about this.
Come on, man.
I think I know the answer to this, but you didn't do any search for any missing clothing from the victim inside the house.
I did not.
Didn't do a fucking thing. Did nothing, sir. And now you're a lieutenant.
Last question on this, or last series of questions on this issue.
What the fuck's wrong with these
You
people?
understand the importance of electronic devices in modern investigations, correct?
Yes,
iPads, cell phones, things of that nature,
sure.
because they can record things like photographs, videos,
Yeah.
conversations, text messages, and emails.
Yes,
Would you consider electronic devices relatively vital in modern law enforcement investigations?
I'm sorry, violent?
Vital.
Yes, yes,
Right? They're critical items of evidence, right?
Yes.
It's like walking around with your entire life in your palm of your hand, correct?
correct.
Did you seek
Yeah.
to secure any electronic devices from any of the occupants of that house that morning?
No,
Did you ask for consent to look through their electronic devices, for instance, their cell phones, for text messages or communications?
no.
What did you do? You showed up, took a phone call, don't remember who you talked to.
Did you believe,
That's it.
well, turning back to a question that you were asked by Mr. Lally, you did in fact interview Bryon Albert at the scene, correct?
Yes,
You also interviewed his wife.
yes.
What's supposed to mean?
You have the right to a lawyer who you are probably related to.
This interview is over.
Where were you the night of the fire?
I was at the movies.
What did you see?
No strings attached.
How was it?
Sucked.
Okay, that checks out.
Did you believe at any point before you interviewed Mr. Albert that
That's proper
it was incumbent
investigation.
upon you to let your supervisors know that there may be a conflict of interest because of a personal relationship that you had with the family?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did
Of
you ever,
course.
in fact, not whether you believed it was important, but did you ever, in fact, notify any of your superiors at Canton PD or any other law enforcement agency that you had a personal relationship with the Albert family or members of the Albert family?
I did not.
That's bad juju.
I was waiting to see if he was going to lie or not. He did, of course.
You indicated that you believe you spoke to Mr. Albert and his wife, Nicole Albert, for maybe 15 to 20 minutes. Is that what you said?
Roughly.
Did you record that conversation?
I did not.
You had your cell phone with you, correct?
Yes,
You know that has recording capability.
yes.
Yeah.
Was anybody else with Nicole, when I say with, I mean in earshot of Nicole and Bryon Albert when you interviewed either one of them or both of them?
Jennifer McCabe.
So you interviewed them together.
Yes.
Did you then interview Jennifer McCabe?
I had spoken to Jennifer McCabe outside. To the best of my memory, I believe once we were inside, I was able to get some more information from her based on the chronological order of events.
And when you were getting this information about the chronological order of events, that was within earshot of Bryon Albert and Nicole Albert.
Yes.
So when you interviewed Bryon Albert, Nicole and Jennifer McCabe were listening, correct?
Yes.
When you interviewed Nicole Albert, Bryon Albert and Jennifer McCabe were listening.
Yes.
And when you got this chronological layout of the night before from Jennifer McCabe, Bryon and Nicole were both listening.
Yes.
You're gonna do this for me, or I'm gonna clip your nuts. Like I clip your daddy's.
Pause it, Steve.
No.
Cop 101. Separate the witnesses.
Yeah.
101, dude.
I don't know. That's why I'm just shaking my head when he's asking these questions. This guy did nothing other than show up and take a phone call, realistically. I mean, he talked to his buddies at work while he was at work and outside their house in their foyer, but that was it. You know, he didn't ask him anything real important or anything pertinent to the case. Did he even know he had a case?
I was going to say something.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. So by them having that group meeting, right? They established a chronological order
Yep.
of how things happen.
Yep.
And everybody in there now is married to that timeline.
Correct.
Okay?
Yep.
How easy is it to have 5 people that are there that know exactly what happened from
Yep.
point A to point B,
Yeah. Stick to the same story.
make it work, right?
Yeah. Make it work.
Right?
Yeah.
But they're still flying by the seat of the pants, right? They have to,
Things
especially,
change, yeah.
especially when they're on stand, right? They're getting hit by left and rights,
Yeah.
by Action Jackson.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of questions that don't make sense, that they can't answer, that we know they're lying on. They know they're lying. The objections are utterly ridiculous
Right.
from Bev. So
they
Well,
spoon fed.
yeah.
They're spoon fed.
not looking good for this guy.
Well, he started off so good.
Yeah.
All right, Steve.
After you met with the 3 of them and interviewed them, you indicated that you came back. You had already left, you came back. And I'm jumping ahead a little bit, so forgive me. When you came back, it was around 9 a.m.?
No. I came back just moments later.
Had you actually left? I may be a bit confused, so I apologize. Had you actually left and driven back to Canton PD?
No.
Okay, so you just came back in the house?
When Mr. McCabe entered the house,
No, I'm so sorry. I'm jumping ahead, so that's unfair. You left, now we're at the point where you've already cleared the crime scene.
okay,
And then at some point you get called back
yes,
because Ms. McCabe said she had additional information she wanted to impart.
yes,
Of course she did.
When you
Of course,
interviewed Ms.
she
McCabe that second time, were Bryon and Nicole Albert there?
yes,
Were they within earshot?
yes,
And they listened to that conversation as well.
yes.
After that conversation, did you meet with any other witnesses between February 29th, later in the day, January 29th, any time until February 4th?
No,
None.
no.
I do want to
Hey,
talk
Steve,
for a
pause it,
second, just a brief second, about
He left. Jim McCabe called him and said, hey, we got some more information. Come to the house. Right? Why didn't she just tell him over the phone?
Because this whole thing stinks to high heaven.
Well, she probably knew that
Of course they did.
phone call would be in the Celebrex
Yeah,
data.
of course.
Was not on Celebrex. It didn't happen, right?
Yeah, of course. It's all planned out, man.
Ironic. Hey, we forgot to add this.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're not the cops. You're the cops, but hey, we found out more information for you for your investigation. How the fuck does that make sense again? I've never had people call me unless I say, hey, if you find out more or talk to this person or whatever, or at least let them get in touch with me, and then they do. I thank them. Hey, but as far as them giving me information, no, you can't trust people, man. You got to do it yourself, and you got to put the work in. He's an idiot. Go ahead, Steve. You got a live, right, coming up?
Oh, yeah.
setting up a crime scene outdoors. You indicated that the crime scene was relatively secure, was your word. It was relatively secure because there were patrol cars or cruisers sort of around the perimeter
Yes.
of the yard. Is that right?
That's correct.
Crime scene tape wasn't working because it was windy?
Crime scene tape was up, but it was being blown all over the place.
Okay. And of course, Canton PD has the ability to go get stakes and just hammer some stakes into the dirt if you wish.
Tape can blow, sir. Who
No.
cares?
You don't have stakes at Canton PD?
No,
I mean stakes, E-S-T-A-K-E-S.
I know what a stake is. No, we don't have any.
Canton PD doesn't have those.
No.
So if the crime scene tape was blowing down, that was just sort of a, let's give up on it. Wasn't doing any good.
No.
In your mind, it was futile.
The crime scene tape was futile, yes. It was left up until we made the determination to take it down, but it wasn't really doing its job.
All right. And once the scene was cleared, all those cruisers that were protecting that crime scene were now gone, right?
Yes.
And all the cruisers were gone by about 7:50 in the morning, 7:50, 7:55.
Yes.
So before 8 a.m., that crime scene was completely open. I'm sorry, after 8 a.m., that crime scene was completely open,
Yes.
unsecured,
Yes.
and available to anybody who wanted access to it.
Correct.
Not good. Not good, people.
One of the reasons to secure a crime scene is to minimize the possibility of evidence destruction on one hand, correct?
Yes.
And evidence tampering on the other hand, right?
Sure.
And examples of evidence tampering could be just moving a piece of evidence.
Objection, Your Honor.
That's overruled. Just not too much further with this, though.
I've just got a couple of quick questions about this.
Could you repeat that, please?
Sure. An example, or a couple of examples of evidence tampering could be something as simple as moving a piece of evidence, moving it from here to here, correct?
That would be tampering, yes.
Hiding evidence, getting rid of it, right?
Yes.
Taking evidence out of the scene or putting evidence back into the scene, correct?
Yes.
Or even planting evidence that didn't exist before. All of those would be examples of tampering with evidence.
Yes.
And setting up a proper crime scene minimizes or eliminates the possibility for that.
Setting up a crime scene would could you say that again, please?
Sure. Setting up a proper crime scene, securing a proper crime scene minimizes or tries to eliminate the possibility of that type of evidence tampering.
Yeah.
Obviously.
It would, but at this point in time, we weren't aware. At this point in time, state police had said they weren't responding. So there was no longer an area to preserve at that point.
So
There's
in
no
your
need to look
mind,
into it.
well, let me phrase it a different way. What that means is after 8 a.m., that scene was just open.
Yeah, open.
It was.
Weapons free for anybody to walk past and just chuck shit in it.
You found both the blood that we saw pictures of and the cocktail glass that we were just introduced to this morning, correct?
Yes.
You searched the area that was adjacent to where you believed the body was. Is that right?
We searched, I would say, about a 6x6 or 7x7 area,
6x6 or 7x7?
roughly.
That's like the size of a
6 feet on each side.
Right. You were looking for obviously anything that was out of place, anything that didn't belong,
Yes.
like a
Were you?
man's size 12 shoe.
12 shoe?
Would have
Did you see
caught your
that?
attention.
It would.
A black baseball cap would have caught your attention.
It would.
Piece of plastic broken probably would have caught your attention.
Yes.
Yeah.
Certainly 45 pieces of plastic would have caught your attention.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
between you and Officer Seraph, Sergeant Good, Officer Mullaney, Lieutenant Gallagher,
None of y'all saw
none of
nothing.
that was found.
The only things we found were the things that were documented.
You did find the blood, however, is that right?
Yes.
Who literally physically leaned down and scooped that blood up?
Me.
And that was done in a plastic solo cup that we've heard a little bit about. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You're aware that those solo cups are unsealed?
Shit.
I believe Lieutenant Gallagher got them out of a sealed package.
When I say unsealed, I mean they don't have a lid on them. They're not airtight containers.
Correct.
So once you scoop up the snow and the dirt and the debris and the grass and everything else, along with
Yeah,
the
I know.
blood,
I know.
they're just open to the air.
There was snow and blood. There was no dirt and debris in the
Did he just
glass
say
I
that?
can recall.
Yeah.
You're sure about that? There's no dirt and snow?
I didn't observe any, no.
You didn't observe any dirt and snow? You don't think there's dirt and snow?
I didn't observe any dirt in the glass. Excuse me, the cup.
Okay. Certainly wasn't a sterile cup.
No,
Certainly wasn't a crime scene.
I thought he was going to say yes.
no.
It was sealed.
The package was sealed. It's sterile.
You're aware that the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab warns against collecting any biological material in anything made of plastic, correct? Are you aware of that?
No.
Read your policy, sir.
After the,
He's a lieutenant, too.
well, when you scooped up the blood,
Now,
did you
yes.
videotape that process so we know exactly which blood stain was scooped up from where?
I don't recall if it was videotaped,
It wasn't.
but we did not document which scoop went in which cup.
Why would you, G? Why would you talk?
Those CO2 levels are going to be getting toxic.
Well, I suggest you gentlemen invent a way to put a square peg in a round hole. Rapidly.
So if there was multiple
About right.
contributors to blood, multiple contributors of the blood, we'd sort of have no idea which blood drop belonged to whom, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Oh my God.
Once these unsealed cups were in your possession, what did you do with them?
The cups were placed into the Toyota Tundra that I was driving that day and ultimately returned back to the police station.
Okay, and you talked a little bit about the process once you returned back to the station. They were put in a brown evidence bag, correct?
Yes.
And ultimately, when you log these items into the, tell me the name of it again, it's the temporary evidence?
Temporary, excuse me, the blood was put in temporary evidence refrigerator.
Okay, inside the evidence bag. Cups are still inside the evidence bag, it's logged in.
Sure. I don't know, sir.
I don't recall that. I'm not sure if I took them out or not. I don't recall.
You indicated that there's an item number or property number that's assigned to them.
Yes.
There is generated a seal or a label to go on the evidence that's being stored, correct?
It should, yes.
And the bag is sealed. The evidence bag is sealed like this red tape that we see on this thing, correct?
When possible, there are certain items that can't be bagged, and then sometimes you create a tag and attach it to a tag.
Right, but if it's a brown paper bag that's an evidence bag, you certainly just fold over the edge of it and just put a red evidence seal on it to make sure that that's secure and not tampered with, correct?
That would be one way to do it, yes. I don't recall if I left them in the bag or took them out of the bag. I don't recall.
If you left them in the bag, you likely would have, if you're booking them into evidence, you likely would have used some red crime scene, not crime scene tape, evidence tape.
You have to.
If I had left them in the bag, I would have put the property label right on the bag.
So everybody could see it?
Yes.
Okay, there's an evidence bag with important evidence in it. Don't mess with it. It's secure, correct?
Yes.
Can we have tab 23?
Can we get a real cop in here, please? Can we get a real cop?
Do you recognize
Like a rent-a-cop.
what's depicted in this exhibit?
I believe it's Miss Reed's vehicle.
For the record, you're looking at what's been previously marked as Exhibit 37. You see the little white rag down there by the right rear quarter panel?
Yes.
Let's go to tab 24.
Oh, shit.
Oh, there's the bag.
You see that white rag?
Yes.
Sorry?
How many
Yes.
put him in that bag?
Sorry.
Did you see a bag
He's gonna
sitting
do
next
it.
to it?
I do.
Doesn't look like an evidence bag, does it?
No, it looks like a Stop and Shop bag.
Stop
But
and Shop.
actually, it looks like an evidence bag. It just doesn't say Canton Police on it. It says Stop and Shop, but it does look like an evidence bag. It's the same thing.
Really? Okay.
That's a grocery bag.
It is. And that's exactly what our evidence bags look like, so that's what I thought it was at first.
Right, except it doesn't say anything about evidence on it. It says Stop and Shop, correct?
Correct.
What do you think's in that evidence bag? I'm sorry, Stop and Shop bag.
Call it evidence back.
I'm not sure.
You were when these pictures were taken?
Lunch meat.
I could
Lettuce,
tell that it's the
tomato.
Canton Police Sally Port, so it's some point after the state police had seized the vehicle.
And at some point after you had brought the solo cups back to the station.
Correct.
Matter of fact, these were taken on February 1st when Canton, the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab finally took possession of these items of evidence, correct?
I was not in the police station for those 2 days.
Let's look at the next tab, tab 25.
So bad. So bad.
You recognize that?
It appears to be solo cups with substance inside.
Are those just any solo cups or the solo cups that you took back to the station from 34 Fairview?
I mean, I couldn't say definitively, but it certainly looks like it.
It's like beer in
It
there.
appears that they have red liquid material.
Pause it, Steve,
floating
one
on the
sec.
bottom.
Yes.
It's like beer with a little bit of foam.
He couldn't say indefinitely if those were the cups that he scooped up the letter, right? Did you catch that?
No, I missed that.
How could that have prevented? By actually fucking sealing it,
Yeah.
right? Sealing it?
Well, how about just not pick it up with fucking cups?
Well, he also said that he took them and dropped them off in the fridge, evidence fridge. Does that look like an evidence fridge to you? Right?
Oh my gosh.
Those appear to be the cups. Appears.
Piers, you don't even know.
You don't even know.
You don't even know. This shit show. Oh,
Keeps giving and giving.
yeah. This is fucking ridiculous, man. I can't believe these guys are cops.
Roll it, Steve.
Top three I can see. Yeah, the only two I see that don't have it are the bottom two left.
Okay, let's look at the next tab, which is 26.
Does anybody think that's
See
okay?
somebody with gloved hands opening that bag.
Anybody in
Same
America
bag, little white rag right there.
I do.
think that's okay?
That appear to be the same 6 solo cups?
That you just showed me in the previous slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Are those the same 6 solo cups that you gathered at the scene at 34 Fairview and ultimately brought back to Canton PD?
They certainly appear like they are, but I can't say definitively, but they appear to be.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on your words. Go ahead. Finish your-
They appear to be the same solo cups, but I couldn't say definitively.
Let's go back to tab 24. And the reason you can't say definitively, Lieutenant, is because there is no label on this bag, is there?
What did I say?
Not on that side of it, no.
There is no property number on
That
this
side,
bag,
there's nothing.
is there?
Not on the side that's visible to me, no.
There's no evidence tape on this bag, is there?
No.
Not on the side that's visible to me, no.
Well, let's look at the other photographs.
Let's look at the other side.
Are you, well, before we do that, are you suggesting that all of that material is on the other side of this bag?
I don't know. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm telling you I don't know.
Okay, let's look at the next tab. Looking at it from the top, does it appear anywhere from that vantage point that there's evidence tape that's ever been put on that bag, that has ever been secured?
I wouldn't be able to tell you that.
Well, one of the ways that you can tell that evidence tape has been put on an item is because when the evidence tape is placed on it, it's completely sealed.
Yeah.
And if in fact that seal is ever broken, it's not torn off, it's cut, and there's initials put on, correct?
Objection.
Yep.
Sustained.
Have you ever used evidence tape before
Stickiest stuff in the fucking world.
to seal anything?
Listen.
I'm sure I have. I don't recall off the top of my head.
How long have you been a detective? I'm sorry, how long were you a detective when you were a detective?
I was a detective for 11 months as a sergeant, and then I was a detective for 15 months back in 2011-12.
And in your experience, and how long have you been a police officer?
Over 24 years.
So in your 24 years of experience and over a year as a detective, you can't remember if you've ever used evidence sealing tape?
As I said, I'm sure I have. I just can't recall one off the top of my head.
If you can recall using it at all, isn't the protocol
Yeah.
evidence sealing tape is is used
You're a
to
fucking
seal an item
detective,
of
dude.
evidence. When it's removed, it's not torn off, it's cut, and then new sealing tape is put over it with an initial and a date, correct?
Objection.
Do you know the answer to that?
I don't.
Okay, next question.
Oh my gosh.
That's all I have for this.
Pause that, Steve. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? Are you fucking kidding me?
I can't recall.
Dude, evidence tape steals your soul.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I lying?
You
Dude,
can't
when
get
you
that
put
off.
evidence on tape or something, it's ruined. Ruined. You can't get that shit off. It
Dude.
sucks. It's 100 times worse than super glue.
Dude, how
It's like from
stressful,
space or something.
how stressful it is when you're trying to get that tape on that.
You got to put it on perfect because as soon as it sticks, once like, oh shit, and it's crooked, you're like, oh fuck, and then you got to get a new bag. You got to do something else. Our bags now are thick plastic,
Yeah.
see-through, right? And it says LVMPD evidence. They're plastic, thick bags.
It's a nightmare.
This guy uses a Stop and Shop, doesn't even seal, and doesn't even notice. So you know, because that bag would be ripped to shreds if they ripped that tape off. Yeah, that evidence tape is the stickiest shit on earth.
So he started off good. He started off good.
Yeah, he started off fine, but he's as bad as the others, man. And of course, he's now a lieutenant. See, screw up, move up.
Well, that's what I was talking about with Nurse Kim, right?
Right.
Too many coincidences that are happening
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah. No.
And it's
No.
multiple cops that are having the same issue.
No. Way too many coincidences. Bullshit. Bullshit.
The shot, the ha.
God, man, this dude's he's an idiot too. Are we done with this guy?
Yeah, he's done.
All right, we gotta go live. People.
Hey, we did a live thing the other day with Nurse Kim.
Yep. Yeah, last
And
night.
holy macaroni. Everybody jumped in.
Yeah, it was fun. We're raising money for Karen and talking and telling stories and stuff.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
Yeah, thank you for the invite again, Nurse Kim.
Yes,
Appreciate
thank you, Nurse Kim, for the invite.
So,
all right, is that it?
That's it.
We're good. All right, that was Sergeant, Lieutenant Lank, whatever you want to call him. I'm gonna call him just Mr. Lank because he ain't a cop to me. Because
I'm gonna call him evidence cop.
Evidence cop. He's a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Not good, sir. Not good. Look for you. So
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, we're gonna get ready to jump on a live. Thank you for all of your support. We are humbled and honored to serve you.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching.
And for those still serving, stay safe out there. What did I say?
Have a safe tour of duty.
Oh, that's my line. Dude. It's been such a long time. Have a safe tour of duty.
And make a difference in someone's life. Stay classy, Las Vegas.
Always.
Always messing up his.
1 Sam 5 and 1 Sam 6, copy of 425 call.
Copy. 1 Sam 5 en route.
1 Sam 6, copy, en route.